Inside Michael Jackson's Thriller. In 1983, the world witnessed a revolution in music, film, and pop culture. Michael Jackson, already the biggest star on the planet, set out to do something no one had ever done before: turn a music video into a full-blown cinematic event. Thriller wasn't just another pop video. It was a 14-minute short film that mixed the worlds of music and movies, horror and dance. With its groundbreaking choreography, special effects, and unforgettable transformation sequence, Thriller didn't just change Michael's career, it changed the entire music industry. Before the video became a global phenomenon, there was the song. Written by Rod Temperton and produced by Quincy Jones, it was originally titled Starlight. But Michael wasn't pleased with it, so Rod Temperton reworked it into a spooky cinematic track. With its haunting bass line, eerie sound effects, and Vincent Price's chilling narration, Thriller stood out from anything else on pop radio. It was the perfect combination of funk, fear, and fun. Rod Temperton. I got to know Michael. He loves movies, so I came up with the idea that I should write something theatrical. Michael Jackson. Thriller. Of all the songs on the album seem like you can do much more video-wise, well, movie-wise than any of the songs cause of the story, and all the visuals and monsters and stuff. And so I came up with an idea of thinking that I really want to change, metamorphosis into some other creature, and I saw American Werewolf in London, and I really liked it. After seeing An American Werewolf in London, Michael liked it so much that he wanted the director of the film for Thriller, director John Landis. When Michael called me literally out of the blue, I was in London. In the middle of the night, I get this call and he wanted to turn into a monster. He basically loved the film I made called American Werewolf in London, and he was particularly taken with Rick Baker's Oscar-winning work on the metamorphosis. He was fascinated by obviously my transformation, and he wanted to turn into a monster, and he called me, "Can we do something where I turn into a monster?" And I said, "Well, I'll be back in LA in 2 or 3 weeks, and I'll come visit you." So I did, and I discovered he really just wanted to turn into a monster. That was his desire. He loved it. So the next time I brought Rick Baker with me, and we showed him all these photos of monsters from different movies, learned he'd never seen any of these movies. Michael Jackson. Believe it or not, I'm afraid to watch scary movies. Honestly, I don't quite like to watch them very much. I never thought I'd be involved in making that sort of thing, but I am. John Landis. With Michael's fascination with monsters, I said, "Well, you'll become 2 monsters. You'll become a werewolf," and then we decided on dancing zombies, a zombie. Doesn't make sense, but who cares? You know, it's a fantasy. Michael Jackson. I did Beat It with Michael Peters, which I choreographed portions of that as well. And as I told John Landis, I want Michael Peters to work on this thing. So Michael Jackson and Michael Peters got together and created the choreography. Michael Jackson. I remember my original approach was, how do you make zombies and monsters dance without it being comical? So I said we have to do just the right kind of movement, so it doesn't become something that you laugh at. But it has to be, taken to another level. So I got in a room with Michael Peters, and he and I together kind of imagined how these zombies should move by making faces in the mirror. And I used to come to rehearsal sometime with monster makeup on, and I loved doing that. So he and I both collaborated, and we both choreographed the piece. John Landis. Michael Peters and Michael Jackson came up with the choreography, and it's fascinating choreography because the dancers were allowed more rehearsal than usual. At that point, already Michael had established certain moves, so my first instruction to Michael Peters was spooky, and the second one was, I don't want any Michael move. But of course that didn't happen. Michael did several of his signature moves as only he could, and also mastered the routine that Michael Peters helped create. Choreographer, Michael Peters. Initially, when Michael Jackson talked to John Landis, he wanted to choreograph it himself. John said, "Well, I think it's a big undertaking. Maybe it would be wise to have somebody on the other side of the camera." And Michael Peters also cast the dancers. Michael Peters. I had asked Michael Jackson if he had any preferences to how many men and how many women. Originally, I think he wanted all men. I had just done Pat Benatar, so I showed him Pat Benatar. And I said, yeah, we should have some ladies in it. He was working on Say, 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 so I just went ahead and hired all the dancers, and they were all there when he got there. And the dancers that he hired were some of the best in the land. Michael Peters. We have 18 professional dancers. We have 4 pop lock dancers. I was looking for people that would really get off on what we were doing. And when they walked into the studio the first day, I said, look, this is not a glamour gig. I mean, it's going to be uncomfortable makeup, dentures in your mouth, and 12 hours of being really weird looking. Thriller dancer, Lorraine Fields. Michael was the biggest thing in showbiz at that point in time. Everyone wanted to do this. Everyone wanted to be in this video. Thriller dancer, Vincent Patterson. By the time we made Thriller, Michael Jackson had become the king of pop. Michael Peters had become the king of music video choreography. John Landis, who had directed An American Werewolf in London, had been chosen to direct Thriller. I was Peters' sole assistant choreographer on Thriller and landed a role as a dancing zombie. We were the team. Peters and I spent a few days at Debbie Reynolds' dance studio, laying the groundwork for the choreography. Mike eventually joined us. Mike had gained a lot of confidence with the success of Beat It, and upon entering the studio told us, I really want to be sure that the dance doesn't make zombies come off as comical. I want them to be scary. We showed him what Peters had created, and Mike started jumping around the room. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's it. Though Peters created almost all of the movement, Mike slowly became more assertive in contributing choreography. Lorraine Fields. Michael Jackson said to Michael Peters, I want your 2 best dancers flanking me. And that was my best friend, Michelle Simmons, and myself were put on his side to just be his stabilizers and to inspire him. But let me tell you, he inspired us. Michael Peters. I think he's got the gift. You either have it or you don't. He's always had it. I think like anything or anybody, the more exposure he has to different elements of that area, he will grow. If he should so desire to do a Fred Astaire type of number and study that form of movement, that will just add to what he does, because he has the wonderful ability to imitate what he sees. Michael Jackson. The greatest education in the world is watching the masters at work. You couldn't teach a person what I've learned just standing and watching. Michael Peters. Michael's energy is unique. He is the greatest dancer I have ever worked with. Vincent Patterson. After our final rehearsal, we all applauded Mike. He applauded us back and bashfully said, thank you everybody for being in this short film. We're going to make some history. We shot the Thriller zombie dance sequence late at night at the junction of Union Pacific Avenue and South Calzona Street in East LA. Lorraine Fields. The first day it took 5 to 7 hours. Makeup was strong in terms of time, stronger than the costume. These makeup artists had to do that every day. Makeup artist, Rick Baker. I got a call from John and he was like, you know who Michael Jackson is? And I was like, yeah, kinda. He's the guy from the Jackson 5, right? And he said, well, he's got this song called Thriller and he wants to do this short film. At first, I didn't want to do it. It's like being a dentist in a way. They have to sit still in a chair for hours while you work on them. It's not something actors look forward to. John Landis. He really enjoyed the process of the makeup, and he really enjoyed wearing the makeup. Most actors hate it, and he loved it. Michael Jackson. I just loved becoming a monster because it gave me a chance to pretty much become someone else. It was just fun hiding behind this mask and just really letting this part of you, your body, or your feelings out. It was just thrilling for me to do that. And the dance, and all the morphing, and all the fun things we did, it's so memorable. Rick Baker. I'd wanted to talk Michael out of the transformation, just because so many of them had been done, even on TV with Manimal. Michael, though, was really set on turning into a werewolf. At least I was able to talk him out of going for a normal werewolf. I suggested a more cat-like creature, which I thought was more appropriate for Michael, and at least it was something slightly different that would allow me a little more fun with the design. Michael liked the idea. Rick Baker. Early on, I'd suggested a couple of winged demons, and Michael said definitely no demons. so I had reason to doubt that he wanted to turn into a really monstrous monster. After Michael said no demons, my design sketches were a pretty sort of Black Panther monster. Michael said no to having demons in his short film because of his faith and belief in God, but he still faced harsh criticism from the Jehovah's Witnesses, which he was a part of at the time. Michael Jackson. When I made Thriller with all the ghouls and ghosts, they said that it was demonic and part of the occult, and that Brother Jackson can't do it. I called my lawyer and was crying, and I said, destroy the video, have it destroyed. But Michael's lawyer didn't have it destroyed. He instead convinced John Landis to remove the film canisters from the processing labs and lock them in his office. Not long after MJ had ordered Thriller to be destroyed, his security chief called John and told him that Michael had locked himself in his room for 3 days and refused to eat, so John rushed over. John Landis. I said, Michael, I wouldn't let it be destroyed. He went, really? Because I think it's really good. I go, Michael, it's great and you're great. The short film would of course be released, but Michael put a disclaimer at the beginning of it which reads, due to my strong personal convictions, I wish to stress that this film in no way endorses a belief in the occult. John Landis. I saw over 100 actresses and dancers and all kinds of people, and when Ola came in one, she was desperate to be with Michael Jackson, and she was adorable. Ola Ray. My agent had me go to interview with John Landis, and so once I got there, I didn't know what I was going up for in the beginning. And so once I got there, John started explaining to me what he wanted from me. And he was telling me that the girl that he needed had to act and perform 2 different girls in the video, and one would be a girlfriend from like the 1950s, which we would be looking at her on the screen. And then the other would be a modern-day girlfriend of this guy who turns into a werewolf. And so he's explaining all this to me, and I'm not knowing at all that he's talking about Michael. And then so he started playing the Thriller song, and I looked at him and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, you got to give me this part. I can do it. Trust me, I'm the perfect girl for you. So he said, okay, I'm going to talk with Michael about it, he said, and then afterwards I'll give you a call, and 2 weeks later he called me and told me I got the job. She wound up being perfect for the role. She brought both warmth and charm that balanced Michael's mysterious and playful energy. A former Playboy model and actress, Ola Ray had the charisma, confidence, and screen presence needed to stand beside the biggest entertainer in the world. Ola Ray. It was hard work, but it was also a lot of fun. I learned a lot from both Michael and John Landis. It was great. Michael Jackson. When I was in the editing room, I knew I liked it, I enjoyed it. You know it has to be satisfying for me, and I enjoyed what I had seen when we finished it, so I was happy with it. Never totally satisfied, but I was happy. Ola Ray. He's a perfectionist for sure, but he was always very friendly with the dancers and the crew. He's a practical joker. He kept saying, I can't wait until I do the werewolf scene so I can chase you. I'd say he is shy, but only when he's around people he doesn't know. Actually, Michael seems almost outgoing, at least while he's working. Michael Jackson. I love working with John Landis, because we laugh a lot. We're never serious on the set, so it's fun working with John because I get to throw water balloons and stink bombs and everything at him. That's a ritual for me after we wrap on each video. I throw a lot of stuff at everybody, so that's fun. Michael Jackson. I was paying for this project myself, so the money for the budget overruns was coming out of my pocket. But at this point, John came up with a great idea. He suggested we make a separate video, financed by somebody else, about the making of the Thriller video. It seemed odd that no one had ever done this before. We felt sure it would be an interesting documentary, and at the same time it would help pay for our doubled budget. It didn't take John long to put this deal together. He got MTV and the Showtime cable network to put up the cash, and Vestron released the video after Thriller aired. The success of the making of Thriller was a bit of a shock to all of us. In its cassette form, it sold about 1 million copies by itself. Not only was the film successful, but it also helped boost the sales of the album. Michael Jackson. We released it in February, and it made its debut on MTV. Epic released Thriller as a single, and sales of the album went crazy. According to statistics, the Thriller film and the release of the single resulted in 14 million additional album and tape sales within a 6-month period. At one point in 1984, we were selling 1 million records a week. I'm still stunned by this response. By the time we finally closed down the Thriller campaign a year later, the album was at the 32 million mark. Ola Ray. I didn't know that I was going to be a part of history, but that is the way it turned out. I'm thankful. I am just glad that people are still talking about it, and Michael made me part of history. John Landis. It really created the home video business. It made MTV. It tripled the sales of the record. It had this gigantic financial and cultural impact. It was a total shock to me, and it was nobody's good idea. It was Michael wanting to turn into a monster. Jermaine Jackson. When you first think of songs like Beat It, Billie Jean, and Thriller, you see the music before you hear it because the visual of Michael's music videos is seared into culture's memory. That is the power and impact he always set out to achieve. Quincy Jones. The truth is, many of the videos that became trademarks of MTV imitate Beat It, Thriller, and Billie Jean. He helped define the music video in terms of style, dance ensembles, and overall performances. MTV VJ Nina Blackwood. Thriller ushered in an age of cinematic high-concept videos. We saw videos get more sophisticated, more storylines, way more intricate choreography. You look at the early videos, and they were shockingly bad. Nile Rodgers. It was definitely the music biz before Thriller and the music biz after Thriller. Other artists had videos, other artists had records, but other artists weren't Michael Jackson. Michael sort of artistically raised the bar for everybody. Michael Jackson. My main goal for Thriller was to do something that would be scary, fun, and exciting. And it was all those things and more. Decades later, Thriller remains a cultural monument, a celebration of imagination, and a reminder of a time when one artist dared to dream bigger than anyone else. In the end, Michael Jackson didn't just thrill us. He transformed entertainment forever. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join us next time.